This is one of those guys that is a top 10 scorer in the entire National Hockey League.
He's become a legit #1 top centerman in the league.
Holy mackerel, what a shot!
That is a thing of beauty.
He scored! What a goal!
Glove save made.
Wow, these are plays that superstar players make.
He's an elite superstar. The best in the biz.
One of the best players on the planet.
Welcome back to our top 50 NHL players of 2019 countdown. Players 50 to 31 have been revealed. If you missed the first two episodes, be sure to hit the description for links to players 50 to 41 and 40 to 31. We know a lot of you have seen it because we have seen your comments and we appreciate it. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, we want to hear from you in the comments below, so be sure to hit them up after you've seen the list revealed. Also, be sure to subscribe to youtube.com/Sportsnet so you don't miss any episode that drops. I am Faisal Khamisa, joined by Rory Boylan, Ryan Dixon. You hear them on the Tape to Tape podcast. They are Sportsnet.ca NHL editors. They will help break down said list. Let's get right into it as I look off our sheet to a guy who signed an offer sheet. Number 30 is Sebastian Aho.
Aho on the gallop. He'll power in front and score! What a goal! Wow! Stepping in the zone, it's Aho. He scores! Sebastian Aho wins it!
What a star play!
So let's break this down slightly. Number 30, Aho. Potential to be higher going forward, but he had a good season last year and expected to have one as well.
Great season.
Yeah.
Finally broke through over 80 points. I don't think it's a coincidence that the year Sebastian Aho stepped up as a better offensive player, the entire Carolina Hurricanes offense came with it, from a bottom third to a team that was really streaking towards the end there. He himself is becoming one of the elite centers in the game and bringing the rest of his team with him.
All right, another young star who's only on the rise comes in at number 29, Maple Leafs forward, Mitch Marner.
Here's Mitch Marner. Waits, takes, scores! You could feel it coming on a goal by Mitch Marner.
Marner with a shot, scores! Mitch Marner. How about that goal?
Ryan, I imagine there will be some controversy surrounding Mitch Marner only because he is a Maple Leaf. Why here?
Well, I think because he brings a little bit of everything, and that's the thing. Even going back to his days with the London Knights, if you watch him, he's always been a puck hawk. He's always been someone who has more than one dimension to his game. That dimension is fantastic, and he took a big jump playing with John Tavares points-wise. But I think there's a sense that over the course of his career, he's really going to become a strong two-way force from the wing, and we've obviously already seen large hints of that in his first 3 seasons in the league.
All right, another guy who's taken a leap as well, a strong wing player, just missed a 100-point plateau, comes in at number 28, Johnny Gaudreau.
Johnny Gaudreau, right in, scores!
Now look at that finish. The sweet hands right there from Johnny Gaudreau.
He is the driver of that line. There are a lot of great players on that line. Sean Monahan carries his own too. But you saw what happened when Elias Lindholm landed on that line after coming over from Carolina. Brad Treliving thought that was the year that maybe he could really bump up, and he certainly did because he's surrounded by such great talent, Gaudreau being the primary driver of that line.
Another team that we know has a plethora of offensive talent is the Washington Capitals. One of their centers comes in at number 27, Nicholas Backstrom.
Can you defend Nick Backstrom? Backstrom is a maestro.
What a pass by Backstrom. Backhand spinner in on the tape right there.
Look at that sauce. Nick Backstrom, the best in the biz.
Ryan, a dip in scoring last year, but again, we got to kind of remind people, this is not a fantasy list. This is a guy that does it on every part of the ice, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, his hallmark has always been his passing game. I mean, he's a guy who's shown he can do it away from Alex Ovechkin as well now. And, you know, the big news around him going into the season will be that he is entering the final year of his contract. He's set to become a UFA in 2020. I mean, Ovi is obviously the face of the Washington Capitals, but this guy has been an unbelievable running mate for him and, you know, sort of a quieter guy, a little more behind the scenes, but has been an absolute pillar for this Washington team for so long now.
From a guy who's set to hit the UFA market to a UFA who just signed a big contract, next on our list is Artemi Panarin.
Artemi Panarin scores! What a goal!
Artemi Panarin gets the goal.
World-class shot from Artemi Panarin, yeah.
Some of the wingers rank a little bit lower down this lineup because the centers are the ones that so much of the play goes through. But Panarin is the driver. He is the guy who makes players around him so much better. Look what he did with Columbus the last couple of years and helping some of those players. This is why I'm really excited with this fit with the New York Rangers, because there's a lot of young talent, some rookies coming up through that Panarin is going to be exposed to, or who they're going to be exposed to Panarin and find out very quickly that, man, this guy can really help my career get off on the great foot.
I think this goalie found out about Panarin and the Blue Jackets last playoffs. Coming in at number 25, Lightning keeper Andrei Vasilevsky.
How did he do it?
Vasilevsky is so incredible.
Oh my Lord, what a save.
We can talk a lot about what goalies are actually worth and whether it is a mistake to commit big dollars to a goalie, but I think if you're Tampa Bay, you're looking at a guy who's 25, who has been coming along slowly, was behind Ben Bishop for a while, got the chance to take the reins, and really did fantastic. So I think they feel very good about where their goaltending is at with Vasilevsky now, for the long-term future. And I mean, this is a guy, we don't think about goaltending and defense when we think about Tampa, but he can be a real wall for them, and they know they're in good hands for a long time now.
Speaking of defense, the first blue liner on this part of the list comes in at number 24, Kings D-man Drew Doughty.
Star defenseman Drew Doughty.
He's an old school hockey player. Oh, big hit. He's slammed into the boards by Doughty.
Dropping it off for Doughty. Doughty to the net, shoots, he scores!
Now, people will say he's a little slower. People will say the scoring has dipped. Why is he still this high on this list?
Well, his scoring isn't as high as some of the other guys who are going to be appearing higher on this list.
And it's never been great, really. He's never been a jump-off-the-page points guy.
Right, but he logs a ton of minutes. Over the last 3 years, no NHL defenseman averages more ice time than Drew Doughty. Last year, he finished second to only Ryan Suter, who we know is such a minute-eating monster. Doughty is the most important player on the Los Angeles Kings. That's a team that has Anze Kopitar, we've already talked about on this list, but Doughty is the guy that they need most, and they just rely on him for everything. Power play, shorthanded, even strength, whatever you got.
Next up, a Boston Bruin coming in at number 23, David Pastrnak.
Pastrnak brings the puck through center, cuts in on goal, through the defense, he scores!
This guy's got next level skill. He's an elite superstar.
Pastrnak off the half board, Stangles goes all the way in and scores!
He's one of the best young players in the National Hockey League.
Goals per game last year, only Draisaitl and Ovechkin were ahead of David Pastrnak. He's on that fantastic line. I think he's a great bet for a Rocket Richard trophy here in the next couple years. Who knows? It could be this year. I mean, I don't say just scratching the surface. He's definitely blossomed, but he's really just getting started as a big-time scorer in the NHL. He's locked into that spot with those guys. This is a guy who, if you said, give me the list of guys who could get 50 this year, he's on that list.
From big-time scoring to a big-time blue liner who scores as well. Next on our list, Sharks D-man Brent Burns.
If you love hockey and you love characters, I don't know how you possibly can't love Brent Burns.
Burns facing the net. Burns deep. Burns scores! What a goal! Brent Burns! And the Sharks win it in overtime!
People might say this is a little too low for a guy who is amongst one of the best blue liners in the league, no?
Yeah, it depends how you see it. Like, I can see the argument against him being this high even is he's kind of a liability defensively. And then the argument to that as well, his points more than make up for. Over the last number of years, he averages the most points per game of any defenseman in the league. He was drafted as a forward. That comes very naturally to him. He's unique and he's dynamic. Those are the two words I always use to describe Brent Burns. He's unlike any other player in the league, stands out and brings so much to the San Jose Sharks.
All right, rounding out our list, a guy that had 92 points a season ago from the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's Brayden Point.
Here comes Point, right in, he scores! Brayden Point is heard from. Point wants it, gets it, shoots, scores! Oh, unbelievable!
All right, Rory Ryan, you've been great, but let's bring in someone else with some strong opinions to help break down this player, Hockey Central insider Chris Johnston.
Faisal, Brayden Point is one of these fascinating guys. When I look at him, I'm thinking, what could everyone possibly have missed? He was a third-round pick, 79th overall back in 2014. The Tampa Bay Lightning that very year called 2 players to the stage that have yet to play an NHL game, and yet Point has already graduated to become their #1 center. You know, I think one thing that we look to for Point, he's only 5'10". And so when it came to his draft year, a lot of teams weren't really focused in on him maybe like they would. But Tampa's a team that's always valued skill. They've had success with a guy like Marty St. Louis, a Hall of Famer who was an undersized forward. And when Steve Yzerman first went to watch Braden Point with the Moose Jaw Warriors, he was actually watching Morgan Riley in his draft year, but couldn't take his eyes off Point. Once he got down to Tampa and Coach John Cooper saw him, he called Point a gamer. He saw a competitive streak in him that is what ultimately makes the difference between a good player and a great one. Point's going to get a lot of attention because he has 40 goals, he's had a 90-point season, but where he has the most value to the Lightning is that they can trust him to play against anyone on the other team and come out on the better end of that matchup.
So this part of the list has been revealed, number 30 to 21. Let's recap the list really quickly. A bunch of young players in this one. Sebastian Aho, Mitch Marner, Johnny Gaudreau, Braden Point amongst them, a couple veteran D-men there as well, Drew Doughty, Brent Burns. Guys, I want to talk about the young offensive guys because Marner, Point, respectively, 11th and 12th in league scoring last season, yet they sit in the 20s on this list. Is this more of an indictment on the other positions in the league having a little bit more prominence, or we're not sure if these young guys are going to be able to sustain this for years going forward?
I think both of them are going to be able to sustain it. I think Aho has more room to go because Marner scored so many points last year, right? I really think as we go up this list, you're going to start seeing all these centers and like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. It just is an indication of how strong this league is down the middle, how important it is for successful teams to be strong down the middle. If you have no centers to rely on that are going to give you any offense, you're not going to go anywhere in this league, and that's just going to become evident as this list goes on.
If you had to pick and Point and Marner and Gaudreau and Aho, 4 young guys on this list that many think could be top 10 players, top 15 players, who would you place your bet on of those 4?
Rory was talking about centers. I think you have to go with a player at that position, and I think you have to go with Point. I mean, it's tough because his points are skewed a little bit by playing on such a fantastic team in Tampa, but I just think he's a guy who really is going to be more than Aho, a two-way force. That's no real knock on Aho because I think he's got that covered as well. I just see Braden Point as being someone who's going to truly be in that top echelon when we do this list again next year, even in 2 years. You know, he could very well be that top 10 guy. So out of that can't lose bag, I would say that's who I would pick.
Rory Boylan, Ryan Dixon, we appreciate you breaking this down with me as usual. As always, we want to hear from you, so hit up the comments with your thoughts, whether you agree, whether you disagree, who do you want on this list, who should be higher, who should be lower. We, of course, want to hear from you. A reminder again, youtube.com/Sportsnet. We want you to subscribe. If you missed the first 2 episodes, 50 to 41, 40 to 31, they are in the description below. Top 50 NHL players of 2019, 30 to 21, have now been revealed.